Your Excellency, President Jean-Claude Juncker, friends on the dais, friends in the audience. You know, Mr. Sidhu, this is the first time I've heard anyone apologize for quoting Shakespeare. On the other hand, if you must quote Macbeth, we have to really ensure that while the story begins like Macbeth, it doesn't end like Macbeth. The fourth India, we too are a union. The fourth Indian Union and European Union summit has taken place at a very auspicious intersection. EU has shrugged off the tremor, if not trauma, of Brexit. And India is at a crossroads of a great transformation. Both, in a sense, are reinventing themselves. And reinvention offers a historic opportunity of a fresh start. Our partnership has achieved much: trade of over 105 billion euro and so on and so forth, a shared commitment to the principles of democracy and pluralism. The list is very long. But that, my friends, is nothing compared to what we can achieve in the future if we get our act together. President Juncker, you come to Delhi at a moment of transformation. India is on the path to new India. To recognize transform, however, we must understand the form that we had inherited as a status quo. The thrust of our economic growth and the solution to the basic problems of our country, of which poverty was and unfortunately remains a fact, was what was, in my view, the pernicious theory of the trickle-down effect. What is the trickle-down effect? Basically, it means that those who have swimming pools get the waterfall, and those who are dying of thirst get a trickle. That model, that template was not sustainable. And our Prime Minister recognized this from his very opening speech in Parliament, in which he said, and initially to the slight surprise of everybody, when he said that the era of poverty alleviation is over. And there was a slight pause. And then came the telling line, the age of poverty elimination has begun. He also said, and continues to say, that we don't have time. He has injected pace into this process. India now has a clear vision to place India at the vanguard of the 21st century and to place today's disadvantaged at the vanguard of the Indian economy. Big question, of course, is how. Our Prime Minister put into motion some radical ideas. I will mention only two. He upturned conventional thinking by making the poor the very agents of the change that they sought. He empowered the base into becoming the principal engine in an effort to make them the principal engine of the economy. He placed them in charge of their own and the nation's destiny through economic empowerment. The second idea was equally radical. Gender empowerment, gender equality as a critical component of economic transformation. There is still only limited awareness of this development. He has defined the framework, 2022. In 2022, our vision, his vision, our effort, is to make 100 million families, or nearly 400 million people, lift them out. But what does it do? It not only creates good for the sake of itself, but it creates a new consumer market of nearly 500 million. And that will have a multiplier effect on the economy. And while the larger story of the economy continues to unfold, he has put a parallel mission, which he actually elaborated during his first speech from the Red Fort. He said, while the larger business of economic growth goes on, what have we done every day to improve the quality of life? And the improvement of quality of life is also an economic activity. Today, we have seen for the first time a security network through insurance being created. We have seen the supply of something like 3 crore gas cylinders to expand the energy market and take the energy market into the lives of the poor. Swachh Bharat, it is also an economic mission. But the Indian economy was trapped under many glass ceilings, which limited India's potential. These glass ceilings had to be broken. When glass ceilings crash, there is noise, there is some debris. And as we all know, India didn't win freedom from the British in order to deny freedom to its own people. We are a democracy. Democracy includes the exuberance of noise. And obviously, by that standard, we Indians are the best democrats in the world. The first ceiling was exclusion of the poor from the banking system, and thereby excluding them from credit. Credit was the preserve of big or medium-sized businesses. The process was reversed through a very dramatic initiative called Jan Dhan. In Jan Dhan, within 3 months, 300 million new accounts, bank accounts, were opened for those who had never entered a bank before, who didn't have the psychological courage or ability actually to enter a bank. All this while, banks have gone in search of those with money. This was the first time banks were going out in search of those without money. And I remember those days. There was much jeering that these accounts have opened and there's no money in them, quite forgetting that the whole purpose was fiscal inclusion. The first fruits are now already visible in credit, in direct benefit transfers that bypass sticky fingers. And the amount, even in these Jan Dhan bank balances, has risen from 0 to rupees 65,000 crores. In the direct beneficiaries, from about 100 million Indians in 2013, it has expanded to 400 million this year. The amount of increase, in monetary increase, is from rupees 7367 crores to 74,607 crores. It's 10 times in just 3 years, and no middleman. The number of schemes has risen from 28 to 314. This was followed by a financial revolution called Mudra. Mudra is the giving of small loans without collateral to those who need it most. Or, as the term goes, funding the unfunded. There are already over 90 million new entrepreneurs in India. They're living under the radar, you think even of Asokam and Vicky. But they are there, and they're building small businesses. The equivalent of something like of over $50 billion has been given to them in loans. And now I come to the most important fact of this scheme, in my view, and I hope in everyone's view. Over 70% of these loans have gone to women. And that by itself is a very important hallmark and evidence of the Prime Minister's and the government's faith in women as the agents of change. 70% of these loans have gone to women. Women who are doing opened up small businesses, sewing machines, large number, paper bags, anything. And this actually matches with the other part of the vision, that India should now become a nation of job givers, not job seekers. Women are at the heart. They are the muscles and drivers of New India. There is fiscal empowerment. There is educational empowerment. There is administrative empowerment. People don't seem to realize that up to half of India's villages are today administered by women, between 40 and 50%. They are now, by reservation, by law, in charge of rural and urban administration. And I'll give you one more small example before I move on, which is the Prime Minister's housing policy. In the Prime Minister's housing policy for the poor, if a man goes to ask for a loan, he can't get it. He has to have a woman as an equal partner. Now, what this does, it changes the balance of power within a family. This is what social revolutions are all about. If you have ownership of the house, you have power in a family. And therefore, I expect that one of the strong components of the new consumer that is emerging in the country, and those who make these products should actually examine this. I expect a boom in woman assertion products as women find their way towards the lead of our society and our country. Another ceiling, tax compliance. This was a tough one, very tough one. Previous governments did the safe thing and looked away. The Prime Minister did what is in the nation's interest, to raise legal and fair share of resources from the taxable Indian in order to create resources for the welfare of the poor. Our trade, as I said before, is over 100 billion euro. 25% of our FDI comes from Europe. We all know, sitting here in this hall, that India can legitimately claim to be an open economy. We have a strategic partnership, as President Juncker noted in an article this morning, which is based on shared values, from democracy to climate, and a great deal in between. Our International Solar Alliance is led by India and France, which we hope will be a signature partnership. But I have a suggestion. Let us expand this partnership into shared objectives. If we can do that, together we could become the defining partnership of the 21st century. Let me leave you with a thought. So far, through known history, man has been a land animal with an economy largely centered around land. The 21st century will see a very different world. The 21st century will be one in which seas, skies, and space, including cyberspace, will control the economy. We are already witnessing the possibilities of cyber, but this is only the beginning. One fact that is common to all three is that seas, skies, and space have no boundaries. The Indian Union and the European Union have shown how boundaries can be softened to become shared space. The skies, the seas, and space will also need the doctrines for the 21st century if they are not to become areas of conflict, if they are to be areas of cooperation. If we work together, I think we can provide the lead to the world in creating these doctrines. Together, we can find a way to a new horizon far faster than by traveling alone. Thank you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker, President of the European Commission, to give the keynote address.
Mr. Minister, ambassadors, mainly the one coming from Luxembourg, lieve Floortje through the Scheidse Gezin. That was the only Luxembourgish part of my speech. Many friends here, because I have seen you crossing the European landscape in recent years. Ladies and gentlemen, I was supposed to leave this room at 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. So the keynote will be a note, because I have to shorten my speech, but it's a real pleasure to be here at this business forum and this city. I know that a speaker is supposed to say that he's happy to be where he is. It's never true, but this time it's true, because the last time I was here was back in '99, and I'm really happy to be here once again. That's my second visit to this great nation. It will not be the last one. That's for the threatening part of my speech. I will come back, and I'm really happy for having come back, because I remember my first trip to India. I remember it vividly, because I was then impressed, as I am now, by the energy of India, of the Indian people, both eager to grow, wanting to succeed. And when I left India in '99, I sensed that this country was the future. Coming back here today, I think my sense was right. India has embraced the 21st century more than others. The Indian leadership is helping to shape the world and make it a safer place. You are home to some of the most innovative tech companies in the world. And as I stand here today, I'm more convinced than ever of this country's enormous potential. I'm more convinced than ever that India and the European Union, beacons of democracy and tolerance, must shape the world together. India is one of the European Union's oldest partners and friends around the world, with diplomatic relations dating back to 1952. We are, how could I say, partners, natural partners in so many respects. Natural partners because we share the same values of freedom and respect for human dignity. Partners, national partners, because we are two of the world's largest democracies and believe in the rule of law. Partners, national partners, because we face many of the same challenges and share many of the same opportunities in an increasingly globalized world. Our cooperation in response to these challenges helps make the world safer, more prosperous, more sustainable. 2 examples, or 3, or 1, I don't know. It depends on the shortening of the keynote address. Since we last met in Brussels, India, the European Union, we have tragically fallen victim to terrorist attacks. We may be thousands of kilometers away from each other, but we face the same enemy. Europe and India, India and Europe must work together to fight terrorism in all its forms. This is why this year we've deepened the cooperation between our security and intelligence agencies to fight terror financing and radicalization. Today's joint declaration on counterterrorism we signed earlier today builds on that work. India and Europe have a shared responsibility when it comes to climate change. Both India and the European Union are unequivocal. The Paris Agreement is irreversible. Together with the other 195 signatories, we will lead the way. India has committed to increasing its share of renewable energy from 7% in 2012 to 22% by 2022. The European Union will support India every step of the way as your energy needs grow over the next decade and beyond that. The European Investment Bank I'm paying tribute to the vice president of the bank, who had to leave his comfortable Luxembourg location to be here in New Delhi. The European Investment Bank has already provided 1.2 billion euro worth of loans to support energy and climate-related projects in India. This is due to the fact that this bank is located in Luxembourg. The main explanation is that I was, during 15 years, governor of that bank, which, taken together, explains the success of these banks and the important role the bank is playing, rightly so, in this country. These numbers include the 200 million euro loan to the State Bank of India to support large-scale solar power schemes across your country. This is just a part of the almost 1 trillion euro that will be needed to be invested in clean energy in India by 2030. This investment will create new opportunities for Indian and European businesses alike. Working together across these areas makes sense for both sides. And in doing so, both India and the European Union are charting a course to what I believe must be a shared future. Prime Minister Modi's independence speech, and you were adding propaganda to propaganda moments ago, his speech set a clear course for India, and this was a speech which was impressing me and which was inspiring me. As this country celebrates its 70th anniversary of independence, the Prime Minister has set out a bold and ambitious vision of the new India ahead of your 75th anniversary in 2022. He made a passionate case for international cooperation on security, counterterrorism, and other global issues. Less than a month ago, more modestly, more timidly, I delivered my own State of the Union speech about European future. I set out how Europe could become more united, stronger, more democratic, and I called for Europe to become the leading global voice for a rules-based multilateral system. The Prime Minister and I, in our own ways, both argued for the same thing. We are natural partners because we share the belief that by working together, we are stronger. Both we know that we could also be doing so much more. We are only scratching at the surface of our common potential. And we could start by learning a few lessons from how our business and people are working together. European companies are already the second largest investor in India, with an investment stock valued at 51.2 billion euro in 2015. European companies create jobs and growth right across India. Bosch, Michelin, L'Oréal, and others setting up headquarters, manufacturing facilities, and innovation hubs right across the country. They are only a few examples of the 6,000 European companies which are operating in India, employing 1.2 million people directly, 5 million people indirectly. I hope that these figures are right, because they are always blowing up the figures when I'm visiting a country, so you have to check this against reality, but I think that these figures are right. Europe is already the primary destination for Indian foreign investment, and this reflects our shared values and common level in global trade and investment. But we know we can do more, and we know that you can do more. We would like to see more investment in the European Union coming from Indian companies. The European Union is the world's biggest open market. We are the largest trading partner for 80 countries, including, of course, India. And we are the largest recipient and source of foreign direct investment in the world. The European Union's economy is growing at above 2% a year. That's not enough. That's too meager. That's too modest. But with this growth, we were outstripping the United States for the last 2 years. And never in its history the employment rate in Europe was as high as it is today. Never. Never before. So Europe is a place to do business. And that will remain the case after the United Kingdom's departure in March 2019. The European Union of then 27 will still be India's largest trading partner. It will be made up of 445 million consumers living in what will remain the second largest economy in the world. The EU 27, you have to become used to this kind of description. The EU 27 already import 2.38 trillion euro in goods and services a year, the second most in the world. This will not change after March 2019. And we will also remain, by some distance, the largest destination and the #1 source of foreign direct investments in the world. We can be sure that Europe's economy will create new opportunities for India's businesses, both now and in the future, now and after March 2019. But business cannot do it alone. There is a role for institutions and for governments. I'm proud that European institutions are investing in India and in its future. The European Investment Bank, once again, Mr. Vice President, now has a regional office in New Delhi. It loans help to build the Lucknow metro. Is that the right way to pronounce Lucknow? The metro. That opened just last month. For a previously non-metro city, the impact of European investment cannot be underplayed. And just this summer, a 500 million euro loan was signed to help with the construction of 12 underground and 6 elevated stations in the Nama metro. Nama in the metro. Making social mobility easier and reducing congestion. But it's not just about hard investment. It is also about the sharing of knowledge and best practice to help solve real problems. European know-how is now contributing to the Clean Ganga project. And we have some experiences in that field. Elbe, Donau, in English that's Danube and Ilp, something like that. I'm delighted that the European Union is providing technical, financial and business input to the reform of India's water sector. We know this is a major issue for India, where 75.8 million people have no access to clean water. This is not only the problem of India, this is a common problem, both for India and for Europe, and we are trying to help as much as possible to tackle this enormous problem. Dear friends, when I think back to when I was here in 1999, for the younger amongst you, that was the last century, the level of cooperation we have reached is remarkable. But I believe it is now time to open a new chapter in our partnership, one that can cement the progress we have made and create jobs and growth in both India and the European Union. Both the European Union and India believe in fair trade. It's a way of creating jobs, exporting our standards and values we share with our Indian friends. When it comes to trade, we are once again partners, natural partners. We have a significant and balanced trading partnership to build on. The European Union is already India's largest trading partner, accounting for more than 13% of India's overall trade. Trade in goods and services surpassed €1 billion last